Hello, and welcome to HoneyBadgerRadio. My name is Alison, and with me today is Hannah Wallen, host of HBR Radio's talk show, our Thursday show. She has a very, very special topic that she wishes to elucidate. Is that the correct word? To inform people about, and she's going to tell us about that topic and why she chose it. So go ahead, Hannah.
I believe that's the right word. It sounds right to me. So last week, just to remind everybody, we talked about the destructive nature of patriarchy scapegoating. And we talked about the damage that can be done when women are unaccountable for their actions and when they don't recognize their agency, both to men and to women. So this week I want to talk about what I refer to as unsafety nets. And to understand that, you got to understand there's two basic kinds of safety nets. There's safety nets that you control, like I get paid X number of dollars a week. I'm going to set aside 5% of that every week to save up to make sure that when I need new tires on my car, I can buy them. That's a safety net. You set it up. It's under your control. You know how much money you're earning. It's your budget. You know where you're keeping it. And you decide whether or not you dip into that to spend on something else. Safety nets that somebody else controls are things like the welfare system. Other people get taxed to pay for it, so you're not necessarily the one who controls how much money gets put in there. Other people's taxes that pay for it can fluctuate, so the budget for it depends on Congress, all of that. And then at the same time, you don't get to decide the conditions necessarily on which you're eligible to receive it. Somebody else decides all that. So that's the safety net that society has allegedly set up for people's benefit, but it's not under the control of the people who are benefiting from it, who are allegedly benefiting from it. And so it's out of your control. And obviously, the best kind of safety nets, the ones that are the most reliable for the individual, are going to be the ones under the individual's control. And as you get into other entities having more and more control over your safety nets, you take greater and greater risk of the safety net having a fail point where you fall into the net and it breaks. So it's like having somebody tie all the knots on your safety net under your tightrope walk, and then you fall into the net and one of those knots doesn't hold. Or one of the spaces in the net between the knots is too big and your butt falls through. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is there are two responses to safety nets that can be damaging. One of them is the constant expectation of safety nets, and this idea that you can't do anything without a safety net. A lot of the businesses that built the economy of the United States and the structure, in a way, of the United States, the businesses that involved building the buildings that are the structure, the roads that are the infrastructure, and so on, those were started by risk takers. Those were people that came along and said, I can make money doing this, and I can make my mark doing this, and I'm going to try it. And in many cases, people risked everything they had. They sank everything they had into those businesses. They gave up the ability to work for somebody else because they were working for themselves, and they stepped off the cliff, and they were going to either sink or swim based on the successes of their endeavors. And if you wait for a safety net to be there, you'd never do anything like that. And of course, that requirement of a safety net gets people into a mentality where they cannot accept a moment of feeling unsafe. And so they panic about things that are not a threat to them. And they panic about circumstances that they have more control over than they think they do. And they end up not moving forward, basically petrified by fear. The other reaction to safety nets is people taking risks that don't have a good payoff, and that they shouldn't take. So you go back to the welfare system. People will be unwise with their finances without a potential payoff for that, where they're just throwing money away, going into debt for stupid things, purchases that are not, that are just entertainment, that are not necessarily, if I buy this, it's going to be gone in a day, and instead of things that are going to benefit to them in the long term. And then they end up in a circumstance where if they actually need money that they've earned and so on, it's not there. They haven't saved anything. They haven't prepared for their future. And boom, the first time there's a disaster, they have to rely on that safety net. And that can be with retirement systems. That can be with education. That can be with all kinds of things. And so there's this lack of evaluation of risk-reward situation when people are looking at their future actions. And I think dysfunctional safety nets and a dysfunctional reliance on safety nets in the modern world has created a lot of damage in our society. So that's what I want to talk about this week. And the way that this relates to men is that whenever there is a disaster and our society needs a safety net, it's men that it falls onto most of the time to pick up the slack, to clean up the mess, to fix the damage, to take the damage, and to take the blame for the damage. So, and in fact, if you start to talk about women's contribution to any damage that takes place, people will come out of the woodwork to be outraged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, we've created our own little corner where we can pretty much talk about that without any repercussions, which is excellent. I wanted to point out also that safety nets often aren't even available for men, even though they might be for women, and that itself creates its own problem because it distorts the relationship between men and women. For example, individuals or women who are part of the welfare system talk about how they become very mercenary about their partner's income, and they look solely in terms of their income and to see if they can make more with this partner versus welfare, which means the men in their communities are not just competing with each other. Now they're now competing with welfare for legitimate, like long-term monogamous mating opportunities, which has in many cases destroyed marriage in communities. Like welfare could be otherwise considered to be, the thing that came to mind was the feminist concern and hysteria over sex bots, and yet we already have a mechanism by which men are rendered less sexually appealing to women, and that is the safety net called welfare, which becomes not even a safety net, but just something that you build a house on now. So I mean, there's the distortion between the fact that men don't get the same safety nets, women do. It distorts the relationship between the genders. And also the other thing that I wanted to point out is an anecdote before we get into it. And that anecdote is there was a critic, I believe, who once talked to a high wire, like a high wire act, so a guy who walks on these incredibly high wires, and he would walk on wires strung between skyscrapers or over the Grand Canyon, and he would do it without a safety net, and he never really fell. Well, he never fell because he would have died. So he was able to do this with absolutely nothing stopping him from falling, and the critic basically told him, "I'm going to make you fall." And the guy was like, "No, I've never fallen. That's not, like, if I fell, I would die." And the critic said, "I'm going to make you fall, and I'm going to put a safety net underneath you." And lo and behold, because he had a safety net underneath him, he fell. So the thing is that the safety net itself becomes this self-reinforcing idea about what you're capable of. And you start to focus on the dangers of what you're doing rather than the mindset that you need. Because before, he obviously was getting into the mindset he needed not to fall in order to be able to do these amazing stunts without a safety net. But after the safety net was there, he was no longer capable of accessing that mindset. So he's no longer able to take the risks that he was taking before. So that sort of comes to Hannah's point about how the safety net itself changes the way people view risks, which is changes the risks that people take in society, the tolerance for risk that they take in society, and ultimately that will have an effect on what we are able to produce as a society, what we're able to create as people. So if you'd like to hear more on this particular topic, please go to the Badger Live Streams channel, which we'll put a link in the low bar. We can't put a link to the actual show anymore, but go to the live streams channel, and you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it is 7:30 p.m.
Yes,
Eastern.
that's correct.
On Thursday.
That's correct.
So it's always 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Occasionally it starts with a bit of technical difficulties, but that's when it is supposed to start. So be at the Badger Live Streams channel at 7:30 p.m. this Thursday for that topic. And this Thursday is like the 29th, right?
I believe so. Today is the 26th, so yeah.
Yeah, so Thursday, the 29th of April, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be not there on the Badger Livestream channel.
Be there or be uninformed.
So see you there.